Multiversal travel, or life after a neat nap. Buckle up, buckaroos, another programming adventure. No doubt, the strangest poem this side of missis-hippie. A little bit of background information. When I came to America, all the TV shows were talking about getting in touch with your inner child. But none warned children not to do that. That is when I discovered my inner animal. And it turned out to be a fierce, muscular house cat. So as long as I could help it, I dressed like a normal person. But as I grew, the fact that I had something to do with cats became funnier and funnier. One of the greatest heights I have ever reached happened a month before Halloween, usually when I begin wearing my tail at the gym. A day or two into it, a mailman, probably retired military, noticed me waddling to the gym. And as he began contemplating getting back into shape and putting on some muscle, I took a slight turn towards the door, and my long, fluffy tail came into view. His confused muttering of, "What the fuck?" is one of the most precious memories I own. And I do often spend days at the gym vaguely pondering a biomechanical-like tail extension for myself. And I came up with a 3D printed design with hair bands that stretch but never break, that I could somewhat reliably connect to the rest of my body and make it move in random directions. Though I am still waiting to come up with a better idea. Perhaps something battery-powered, with a soggy bottoms fan, or something. My audiobook effort is named Catpy, where I hope to publish several audiobooks. It's actually quite aptly named for the age of artificial intelligence, as each poem, or P, is in fact a seed that the AI can optimize and even voice. As a result, I will publish my books in all the world languages, including some arcane ones that no one speaks anymore. But golly, y'all, nothing is as fancy as my naps. Here, the house cat in me truly comes through to shine. And every few months, I nap so deeply, so well, that I just wake up smarter. Today is one such terrible day. I fell asleep, contemplating programming with one eye open, and awoken with a set of new tools for web development. You know, those tools question the existence of existing frameworks, and certainly question document-object reconciliation, where you used to have a need to merge what was inside a web page. But with this new invention of mine, everything is so fine-grained that this clever idea of document-object model reconciliation is just insane. Allow me to give you a short overview. By far, the most useful thing in programming is the loop, a mechanism that iterates over a list of data. And I woke up understanding that the body of a loop is a template, very much like a form letter that you have to fill in. That it is in fact nothing special, nor an actual real part of a web page, but just a template. It gets repeated over and over with each iteration of the loop for every item in the list. An interesting observation. This would, of course, be all hat, no cattle, if it wasn't for the fact that as a web component, I can listen to signals, nest loops, and key them for efficient updates. A signal is a number or a string or an object wrapped in a special listening and broadcasting mechanism. The signal announces that it has changed when the value that it carries alters. A web component is basically the thing that makes a word bold in your text editor or a web page when you press Ctrl B or select the little bold icon. It's just this thing behind words that gives them special oomph. If I remember correctly, the HTML markup language that is capable of marking up regular words comes from SGML, which later spawned XML, and today it has created this crazy madness that requires server compilation called JSX. And this dream or nap of mine eliminates the need for JSX. This functionality of marking up text can be extended to make big text titles, place images in various places, and even make bullet lists. It is a way to mark up text. It is a markup language that gives text more meaning. As the web grew, what you can do inside a web page expanded also. So it's not about words anymore. It's now about boxes. It's now about grids and layouts and buttons and inputs. Now, if you connect this bright idea of signals to this language, then the parts of the web page start listening to the signal changes. And that's it. You don't have to worry about updating the web page when the data changes anymore. The binding is automatic. Web elements actually have a life cycle that has a start when you do the subscription to the signal and an end where you can unsubscribe from the signal to free up memory as the web page is cleared, for example. It's very cool. If you create a folder structure, like on your computer, you can give order to all these signals that control a web page. And by extension, control a web page by simply adjusting settings in what is a simple directory or a simple tree. Whenever you make a change in the tree, whatever is listening to the related signals in the web page will automatically update. The tree is 30 to 50 lines of code. The signal tools, which include a loop and an if and a component and a couple of other little interesting things, is going to be about 20, maybe 60 lines. That's very tiny. A signal-backed component, such as a button or maybe a menu or a form, is especially interesting, as these can be nested and carry their markup in an HTML template tag. The template tag is in fact a big deal, because up until now, those crazy efforts of creating new languages were necessary. Up until web components came about, to program a markup without getting into the nitty-gritty programming, a language called JSX was invented. And to be honest, frameworks like Angular, React, Vue, and Svelte These programs represent mountains of non-portable code that now, with the template tag, or really a template approach, and my signal extensions, are reduced to maybe an afternoon of programming, 150, maybe less lines of code. And now it's just that standard markup. And yes, of course, I am neither the first nor the only to nap, but I comprehended this independently. It is an independent reinvention of mine, and the addition of the tree already makes it more friendly than bare-boned Signal web extensions. The tree moves it towards the likes of HyperCard and Visual Basic, helping me build a shockingly sturdy backbone for drag-and-drop user interface builders. And I'm already working within my own visual programming language where program components are connected by wires or cables. This means that the data backend to such drag-and-drop applications that uses actions that alter multiple signals in response to, for example, user input or server messages is already there in its nth permutation, already quite capable of wrangling signals. And yes, there are features that exist in Svelte, for example, still a good idea to master, that will never exist in web components, that will take an extra hop. But you know, that minimalism, that fact that it's only 100 lines of code makes these programs more valuable than the million lines of all the other frameworks. These are not mere throwaway thoughts. Ladies and gentlemen, there is something to catnaps. After long days of bodybuilding and feverish hopes of finishing a poem by 9 p.m. for a change, so that I could go to bed early and not at 2 a.m., which is probably the reason why I nap sometimes, I am rewarded by this burst of creativity that stems from weeks and weeks of daydreaming about inventing new computer programs. One thing that I've learned to appreciate, that I really noticed, is that in all my years of learning, invention, and magnificent overwork, not a single nap ever took anything from me. Quite to the contrary, naps are little gifts of creativity. They are creativity. They are, in fact, a kind of a rebellion. They are health and a reward for weeks of hard work. Look deep into your soul and try to get in touch with whatever is in there. See if it may love naps, because if that is the case, then you certainly have a hidden talent, a penchant for invention and creativity. Get in touch with your inner animal and see if perhaps it can take you somewhere interesting.